The asylum had rules: doctor and patient, healer and broken, power and submission. Dr. Imani Mwenyezi knew these rules better than most. 3 years ago, she wore the hospital gown. Now she wore the white coat. Until Kang Ryo Won arrived in restraints, his dark eyes finding hers across the sterile distance, and refusing to look away, until he whispered confessions that made her remember what it felt like to want something forbidden, until his obsession with her became the most dangerous thing either of them had ever touched. Some confessions are too dark to speak. Some desires are too forbidden to survive. This is theirs. But before we dive into this forbidden love story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss these intense romance tales. Trust me, you're going to want to hear every word of what happens next. Chapter 1. The First Session. The fluorescent lights hummed the same frequency they had 3 years ago. Imani walked past room 347 without looking inside, though her body remembered every detail: the restraints that left bruises, the screaming nights, the doctors who saw symptoms instead of a human being fighting to survive. Now her heels clicked against linoleum with authority. She carried patient files against her chest, her name embroidered on the white coat: Dr. Imani Mwenyezi, psychiatric resident. No one remembered that she'd once been strapped to a bed on the 3rd floor, her mind tearing itself apart. No one could ever remember. Dr. Mwenyezi, Director Park's voice was tight. VIP ward. New admission. The family has requested complete discretion. He slid a thin folder across his desk. Patient K, male, 35, admitted involuntarily. The diagnosis was vague. Intrusive thoughts, potential danger to self, requires observation. This is barely a file, Imani said. The Kang family wants it that way. They fund 40% of our research wing. Director Park's meaning was clear. Money bought silence. The patient has been through 4 psychiatrists in 2 months. His family is concerned about scandal. What kind of intrusive thoughts? The violent kind, the intimate kind, the kind that made his last psychiatrist request an immediate transfer. Director Park leaned forward. And Dr. Mwenyezi, the family cannot know about your history here. If they discover you were once a patient, they'll use it against us. Against you. The threat hung between them. I'll see him this afternoon, Imani said. The VIP ward was all plush carpet and silk curtains, expensive cages for the wealthy and broken. Imani paused outside room 1203, steadying her breath. The chart on the door showed normal vitals but concerning behavioral notes: patient non-compliant, hostile to staff, refused all interaction, intense fixation on female staff members. She knocked once and entered. The room could have been a luxury hotel suite, except for the locks on the windows and the camera in the corner. Kang Ryo Won stood at the window, his back to her, wearing tailored slacks and a white button-down that did nothing to hide the tension in his shoulders. I didn't request a doctor, he said without turning. His voice was smooth, educated, and empty of warmth. Your family requested one for you. Imani closed the door. The lock clicked. I'm Dr. Mwenyezi. He laughed once, sharp and bitter. Another doctor. Here to fix me with your degrees and your professional distance. Here to tell me my thoughts are just symptoms that can be medicated away. I'm here to listen. No. He turned, and the impact of his gaze hit her like voltage. He was beautiful in a dangerous way. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that should have been cold, but burned with something intense and barely controlled. His hair fell across his forehead, messy, in a way that suggested he'd been running his hands through it. He looked at her like he was memorizing every detail, his eyes traveling from her face down her body and back up with unsettling focus. You're here to make me manageable, he continued, taking a step closer. To turn me back into the perfect CEO, the obedient son. But I can see it in your eyes. You're not like the others. Imani's pulse kicked. What do you see? Someone who knows what it's like to be caged. His eyes narrowed. You've been a patient here before, haven't you? Her breath caught. That's not relevant to your treatment. It's the only relevant thing. He moved closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and dark. Every other doctor looks at me like I'm broken. You look at me like you understand. Professional distance. She needed to establish professional distance. Sit, Imani said, gesturing to the armchair. We have 50 minutes. I don't want to sit. He stepped even closer, invading the space between doctor and patient. I want to know if you feel it too. Feel what? Her voice came out steadier than she felt. This, he gestured between them. The recognition, the electricity, the way you haven't blinked since I turned around, like you can't quite look away. Heat flooded her face. Mr. Kang, I'm your psychiatrist. You're the first person in 6 months who's looked at me like I'm still human. His voice dropped, intimate and dangerous. I've been having thoughts, Dr. Mwenyezi, dark thoughts that terrify me, thoughts I can't control. But the darkest thought of all walked into this room wearing a white coat and looking at me like she knows exactly what it's like to drown. Imani forced herself to step back. Tell me about the intrusive thoughts. You want me to confess? A dangerous smile played at his lips. Right now? When you're standing in my room alone, when I can see your pulse racing at your throat, when you're gripping that file so hard your knuckles are white. Yes. He stared at her for a long moment, something hungry and desperate warring in his expression. Then he moved to the window, putting distance between them. They started 6 months ago, he said, his voice tight. Thoughts about losing control, about surrendering everything I've built, about what it would feel like to stop performing perfection and just feel something real. That's not uncommon for someone under extreme pressure. I'm not finished. He turned back to her, and the intensity in his eyes made her breath shallow. The thoughts evolved. I started imagining what it would be like to have someone see all of me, the CEO and the man falling apart, the controlled exterior and the chaos underneath. Someone who wouldn't flinch from my darkness. Someone specific. His jaw tightened. The thoughts became more vivid, more consuming. I'd imagine confessing everything to someone who understood. I'd imagine their hands on me, not to heal but to claim. I'd imagine what it would feel like to be completely known and still wanted. Those are intimacy fantasies, not intrusive thoughts. I'd imagine pinning them against a wall and making them admit they felt it too. His eyes locked on hers. I'd imagine their breath hitching when I got too close, their professional facade cracking when I said exactly what I was thinking. I'd imagine making them lose control the way I'm losing control. The air between them charged with something electric and forbidden. And then you walked in, he continued, his voice rough, and every single fantasy suddenly had a face. Imani's heart hammered against her ribs. That's transference. You're projecting your need for connection onto me because I'm the first person who... Don't. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides, stopping just short of touching her. Don't pathologize this. Don't tell me what I'm feeling isn't real. You feel it too. I can see it in the way you're breathing, the way you haven't moved away, the way you're looking at my mouth right now. She was. God help her, she was. I'm your doctor, Imani forced out. Then act like it. Tell me these thoughts are symptoms. Prescribe me medication that will make me numb. Do your job, Dr. Mwenyezi. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her face. Or admit that you're as messed up about this as I am. Step back. Make me. The challenge hung between them. Every professional instinct screamed at her to establish boundaries, to end the session, to transfer his case immediately. But she'd been where he was, trapped in a cage, desperate for someone to see her as human instead of diagnosis. And beneath the professional alarm, something deeper stirred, something that recognized the hunger in his eyes because it matched her own carefully buried needs. Sit down, Imani said, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. Now. Surprise flickered across his face, followed by something darker. Interest. He sat in the armchair, sprawling back with studied casualness, but his eyes never left her. Tell me what happened, Imani said, taking the chair across from him and crossing her legs. Professional posture, clinical detachment. What brought you here? My family decided I was having a breakdown. His tone was bitter. I made some business decisions they didn't approve of, missed some meetings, told my father exactly what I thought of his control. They had me committed before I could fight it. Involuntarily? 2 psychiatrists I'd never met signed off. My father testified I was a danger to myself, and suddenly I'm here, locked up, my life on pause because I finally wanted something real, instead of performing perfection. Imani recognized the signs, family using the psychiatric system as a weapon. She'd seen it happen to others. She'd lived a version of it herself. What do you want, Rio One? He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his gaze intense. I want someone to see me, actually see me. Not the CEO, not the perfect son, not the controlled image I've spent 35 years maintaining. I want someone to look at my darkness and not try to fix it or medicate it or turn it into something manageable. And you think I'm that person? I think you're the only person who might understand. His voice dropped. I think you know exactly what it's like to have everyone see symptoms instead of the person drowning beneath them. I think you've been where I am, and I think... He stopped himself. What? I think you're just as starved for real connection as I am, just as desperate to feel something that isn't carefully controlled, just as terrified of what might happen if you let yourself want what you actually want, instead of what you're supposed to want. The words landed with devastating accuracy. This session is over, Imani said, standing abruptly. Running already? I'm establishing boundaries. You're scared. He stood too, moving into her space again. You're scared because I'm right. Because you feel this pull between us and you don't know what to do with it. What I feel is irrelevant. It's the only relevant thing. His hand lifted, hovering near her face but not touching. Tell me you don't think about what would happen if I weren't your patient. Tell me you didn't notice the way I look at you. Tell me you're not curious about what I'm imagining right now. Stop. Make me admit these thoughts are just symptoms, Dr. Mwenyezi. Make me believe you don't feel this too. His fingers nearly brushed her cheek. Or admit that we're both in dangerous territory, and neither of us knows how to step back. Imani grabbed his wrist, stopping his hand inches from her face. His pulse raced beneath her fingers, matching her own frantic heartbeat. You don't touch your doctor, she said, her voice low and steady. Then why haven't you let go? She hadn't. Her fingers were still wrapped around his wrist, feeling the heat of his skin, the tension in his muscles, the air between them thick with everything unspoken. Imani released him and stepped back. Tomorrow, same time, we're going to discuss your intrusive thoughts properly, with appropriate boundaries. And tonight? tonight you're going to think about what you actually want from therapy. Not from me, from therapy. She left before he could respond, the door locking automatically behind her. In the hallway, she leaned against the wall, her hands shaking. 50 minutes. She'd been in that room for 50 minutes, and every professional boundary she'd built over 3 years had cracked. Because Kang Ryo-won was right about one thing. She did feel it. The recognition, the pull, the dangerous possibility that maybe, for once, someone saw her too. Chapter 2. The Confession. Imani didn't sleep. She lay in her apartment, staring at her ceiling, replaying every moment of that first session. The way Ryo-won had looked at her, the heat in his voice when he described his fantasies, the way her own body had responded despite every professional instinct screaming danger. At 3 a.m. her phone buzzed. Hospital number. Dr. Mwenyezi, patient Kang is refusing his evening medications. He's requesting to speak with you specifically. I'm off duty. I know, but he's becoming agitated. He says he needs to tell you something. Something about his thoughts getting worse. Her stomach tightened. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The VIP ward at night was shadows and silence. The nurse looked relieved when Imani arrived. He's been pacing for 2 hours. Vital signs elevated. He won't say what's wrong, just that he needs to talk to you. Imani knocked on room 1203 and entered without waiting for an answer. Ryo-won stood at the window, his posture rigid. He'd changed into sleep clothes, expensive cotton that hung on his frame, but everything about him radiated tension. You came, he said, without turning. What's happening? He turned, and the raw need in his face made her breath stop. His hair was disheveled from running his hands through it, his eyes wild and desperate. The thoughts won't stop. His voice was rough. They're worse at night, louder, more vivid, more... He pressed his palms against his temples. I can't keep them inside anymore. That's why you need to take the medication. No. He dropped his hands. You don't understand. If I take them, if I sleep, the dreams will come. And in the dreams, I can't pretend I don't want exactly what I've been thinking about all day. Imani moved closer, despite every instinct telling her to maintain distance. Tell me about the dreams. You really want to know? His laugh was ragged. You want me to confess what I imagine when I close my eyes? What I've been imagining since the moment you walked into this room. Yes. He stared at her, something breaking in his expression. I dream about you, Dr. Mwenyezi, every night since you became my psychiatrist. I dream about crossing every line we're not supposed to cross. I dream about making you feel exactly what I'm feeling, this desperate, consuming need that won't be quiet. Her pulse thundered. That's transference. It's want. He stepped closer. Raw, undeniable want. I dream about touching you, about finding out if your skin is as soft as it looks, about making you admit you feel this pull between us. I dream about backing you against that door and kissing you until neither of us can think straight. Ryo-won, I dream about your hands in my hair, your body against mine, your breath catching when I tell you exactly what I want to do to you. His voice dropped to something dark and intimate. I dream about making you lose that perfect professional control, about hearing you say my name like a confession instead of a diagnosis. The air between them was electric, dangerous, impossible to breathe. I dream about you seeing all of me, the controlled CEO and the man desperate enough to confess to his psychiatrist that he can't stop thinking about her. He was close enough now that she could feel the heat radiating from him. I dream about surrender, about you, about what it would feel like to finally stop pretending I don't want exactly this. This can't happen, Imani whispered. I know. His hand rose to her face, hovering just shy of contact. I know it's wrong. I know it's forbidden. I know it could destroy both our lives, but I can't stop thinking about it, about you, about what would happen if I just... His fingers brushed her cheek, barely a touch, but it sent electricity straight through her. Stop, Imani breathed, even as she leaned into the contact. Tell me you don't feel it. His thumb traced her jawline with devastating gentleness. Tell me I'm alone in this. Tell me you don't lie awake thinking about what it would be like to cross this line. She should pull away, should end this now, should do her job and establish boundaries. But his touch was fire, and she'd been cold for so long. I do, she admitted, the words barely audible. I feel it. I think about it. I know exactly how dangerous this is, and I still... His other hand cupped her face, and the careful control in his expression shattered. Say it, please. I need to hear you say it. I want you. The confession escaped in a rush. I've wanted you since you looked at me like I was human instead of just a doctor, since you said things no one else would dare say, since you made me remember what it felt like to be seen. Imani, her name on his lips was prayer and curse combined. But we can't. She forced herself to step back, breaking contact. We can't do this. I'm your doctor. You're my patient. There are rules, ethics, consequences. I don't care about the rules. He followed her movement, not letting her escape. I've followed rules my entire life. Been perfect, been controlled, been exactly what everyone expected. And it brought me here, locked in this cage, falling apart. If following the rules means staying broken, then I don't want them. You're in crisis. Your judgment is compromised. My judgment has never been clearer. His intensity was overwhelming, inescapable. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm choosing you. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing to risk everything for something real instead of safe. You don't know me. We've had one session. I know you were a patient here. I know you clawed your way from broken to healer in these same halls. I know you understand exactly what it's like to drown while everyone watches. I know you're just as desperate for real connection as I am. I know you're terrified of wanting something you can't have. He moved even closer, his voice dropping to rough intimacy. And I know you're thinking about kissing me right now, no matter how wrong it is. She was. God, she was. This isn't just attraction, Riowan continued. This is recognition. You see me, I see you, and that kind of seeing is rare enough that walking away from it feels like the real crime. Walking toward it will destroy my career. Then let it. His hands found her waist, not pulling, just resting there with devastating possibility. Let it burn. Build something better from the ashes. Just don't walk away from this, from us, because you're afraid. I should be afraid. You should be afraid. I'm terrified. His forehead dropped to rest against hers, close enough to kiss but not crossing that final line. I'm terrified that you'll leave and I'll spend the rest of my life knowing I let the only real thing I've ever felt slip away. I'm terrified that I'll wake up tomorrow and you'll look at me with professional distance instead of this. I'm terrified that admitting how much I want you will make you run. It should, but it won't. His breath ghosted across her lips. Because you're just as desperate as I am, just as starved for something real, just as done with performing. He was right. He was absolutely right. And that terrified her more than anything. I need to go, Imani said, but she didn't move. Stay. His hands tightened on her waist. Just for tonight. just until the thoughts quiet. You don't have to do anything. Just stay. Let me know I'm not imagining this. Every rule she'd ever learned said no. Every boundary she'd ever built said run. Every professional instinct said this was career suicide. But his eyes held the same desperate hope she'd felt 3 years ago, when she was the one drowning and no one would listen. 1 hour, she said finally. I'll stay 1 hour. We sit, we talk, we do nothing that crosses any lines. Then I leave. Relief and hunger warred in his expression. Deal. They sat, him on the bed, her in the armchair, careful distance between them. But the air was still charged, still dangerous, still thick with everything they weren't doing. Tell me what happened to you, Ryo said. 3 years ago. What broke you badly enough that you ended up here? Imani's throat tightened. She never talked about it. But he'd confessed his darkest thoughts. Reciprocity demanded honesty. I was assaulted, she said quietly. Violently. By someone I trusted. When I tried to report it, no one believed me. The trauma triggered a complete break. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating, started hallucinating. I was alone in Seoul, no support system. By the time I was brought here, I was barely conscious. His hands clenched into fists. And they helped you? Eventually. The first months were hell. Wrong medications, doctors who didn't listen. But then I got Dr. Chen. She saw me as a person, not a symptom. She saved my life. Imani met his eyes. That's why I came back here to work, to be for others what she was for me. That's why you understand, Ryo said, softly. That's why you don't look at me like I'm broken. You're not broken. You're breaking free of a life that doesn't fit anymore. Will you help me? The vulnerability in his voice was devastating. Will you help me get out of here? Fight my family's commitment? Give me a chance to build something real? If I do that, I lose everything. My career, my license, my proof that I'm healed. Your family will destroy me. I know. He stood and moved to kneel in front of her chair, looking up at her with raw honesty. I know what I'm asking. But Imani... Her name on his lips sent shivers through her. I can't do this without you. And I think you need this, too. Need to fight the system that caged you. Need to prove that healing is more important than rules. His hands covered hers where they gripped the armrests. Warm, solid, real. If I do this, Imani said slowly, there's no going back for either of us. I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. With you. She looked at their joined hands, at his face turned up toward hers with desperate hope, at the locked door and the cameras and the impossible situation they'd created. One condition, she said finally. You file a formal complaint about your commitment. You fight for your own freedom. I'll support you, advocate for you, but you have to save yourself. I won't be your rescue. I'll be your ally. Deal. His grip tightened. And after, when I'm out, we'll figure it out. If we both survive. He rose, pulling her up with him, and suddenly they were standing too close again, his hands still holding hers, his eyes dark with promise. I'm going to make it out of here, Ryo said, and when I do, I'm going to court you properly. Take you to dinner, learn everything about you, prove this isn't just crisis attraction. That's presumptuous. That's a promise. He lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles that felt like a vow. Thank you for seeing me, for staying, for being brave enough to risk everything. Don't thank me yet. This might destroy us both. Then we'll burn together. She left before she could do something unforgivable, but as she walked down the hall, she felt his gaze following her, and she knew everything had just changed. They were playing with fire now, The only question was whether they'd survive the heat. Chapter 3. Consequences. Morning brought consequences. Imani arrived at the hospital to find her office door open, Director Park inside with 2 security guards. Dr. Mwenyezi, his voice was ice. Security footage shows you in patient Kang's room at midnight. Care to explain? Her stomach dropped. He was in crisis. I responded to a patient need. You were off duty, you weren't on call, and you stayed in his room for over an hour. Director Park's expression was furious. The Kang family has filed a formal complaint. They're claiming inappropriate contact. I was doing my job. Your job doesn't include midnight visits with a patient who's already expressed concerning fixation on you. He slammed a folder on her desk. His night nurse reported that he specifically requested you, that he refused medications unless you came. Do you understand how this looks? He needed help. He needed appropriate professional intervention, not whatever you gave him. Director Park moved closer. The family is threatening to sue the hospital. They want you terminated and reported to the medical board. Panic spiked, but Imani forced calm. I filed a report this morning questioning the validity of Ryo Wan's commitment. The family is retaliating. You did what? Director Park's face reddened. Without consulting senior staff. Imani, you've just opened this hospital to massive legal liability. Ryo Wan doesn't meet criteria for involuntary commitment. His family is using the system to control him. That's abuse. That's not your determination to make. He stepped closer, voice dropping dangerously low. And given your history, your own psychiatric admission, the family has grounds to question your judgment. They're petitioning to have your sealed file opened. Her blood ran cold. They can't do that. They can, if they prove you're currently unstable. Midnight visits, inappropriate emotional involvement, filing unauthorized reports. It all builds their case. He paused. You're suspended. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. You can't. I can and I am. The family wants you criminally charged. I'm trying to prevent that by showing we took immediate action. His voice softened slightly. I warned you to transfer the case. You didn't listen. Now you're facing the consequences. The security guards moved closer. Imani's hand shook. Ryo Wan is going to receive ECT because his family wants him compliant, she said. You know that's abuse. You know. What I know is that you've jeopardized everything. Your career, his treatment, this hospital's reputation, because you couldn't maintain professional boundaries. Director Park gestured to the guards. Escort Dr. Mwenyezi out. She's not to contact patient Kang or any staff regarding this case. They walked her out like a criminal, past nurses who wouldn't meet her eyes, past residents who whispered, the walk of shame. Outside, November wind cut through her jacket. She stood on the ED sidewalk, suspended and powerless, while inside Ryo Wan faced ECT without an advocate. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. What happened? They moved me to isolation. Dr. Han says treatment starts tomorrow. Her chest constricted. She couldn't respond. Any contact would be evidence. But she couldn't abandon him either. She bought a burner phone and texted, "It's Imani. They suspended me. I'm sorry." His response came immediately. "Don't be sorry. Fight." "How?" "They've barred me from the hospital." "Then fight from outside. You filed the report. Push it to the medical board. Force a hearing. They'll destroy both of us." "They're already destroying us. At least this way we go down fighting." She called her former mentor, Dr. Chen, and poured out everything. Expected judgment. Got strategy instead. "You need someone with credibility to take over," Dr. Chen said. "I know someone on the medical board, Dr. Okafor, patient rights specialist. If you can get him the documentation, he'll review independently. Can you make the introduction? Already done. But Imani, even if you win this fight, your career at Seonghwa is over. The family will never drop the lawsuit. You'll be marked as someone who breaks boundaries. I know. And you're doing this anyway. A pause. You love him. The words hit like truth. Maybe. Then be careful. Love isn't armor. The system will tear you both apart if you let it. We won't let it, Dr. Okafor called within an hour of receiving her documentation. This is clear abuse of the psychiatric system, he said, but I can't intervene without patient Kang's direct consent. He needs to file a formal complaint himself. He's in isolation. I can't reach him. Then we have a problem. Unless someone gets him the forms, someone with access. A meaningful pause. I'm a medical board inspector. They can't refuse my visit. Send me his room number. Hope flickered. You'd risk that. I've been fighting this system for 20 years. I'm not stopping now. Within hours, Dr. Okafor had visited Ryo Won. The burner phone buzzed. He says I can fight this. Imani, you made this possible. Why? She stared at the message. Because you deserve better. So do you. When I get out, I'm going to spend every day proving you didn't destroy your career for nothing. Don't make promises you can't keep. I don't make promises. I make commitments. And I'm committed to you. Her chest ached with dangerous hope. Chapter 4. The Hearing. The hearing happened 3 days later. Emergency petition granted. Imani wasn't allowed to attend. Conflict of interest, but Dr. Okafor sent updates. Ryo Won is devastating in his testimony. Calm, articulate, completely destroying their case. Family's lawyer is vicious, claiming Ryo Won is delusional. He's holding firm. Dr. Han is crumbling under cross-examination. No clinical basis for ECT. He's admitting family pressure influenced his judgment. Board is deliberating. Could go either way. Then silence for 2 hours. Her doorbell rang. 2 police officers stood outside. Dr. Imani Mwenyezi, we have a warrant for your arrest. Patient exploitation, abuse of professional authority, conspiracy to interfere with court-ordered treatment. The world tilted. They were arresting her while Ryo Won fought for freedom. Strategic timing. Paint her as the villain manipulating him. She was processed, fingerprinted, photographed, charged. 1 phone call to Dr. Chen. Say nothing without a lawyer. They're scared they're losing. 6 hours in a holding cell. Then a guard came. You made bail. Who posted it? Guy outside. She was released into the lobby. Ryo Won stood there in civilian clothes, looking exhausted but free. You're out, Imani whispered. So are you. He crossed the space between them, and then his arms were around her, solid and warm and real. I won. The board overturned my commitment, ruled the family engaged in improper commitment, and my lawyers had your charges dropped within an hour, no grounds for prosecution. Relief flooded through her. Your family cut me off financially, removed me from the board. I don't care. His hands cupped her face. I'm free, Imani, actually free. And the first thing I did was make sure you were too. He took her to a safe apartment, sparse, hidden, a place to breathe. I need to tell you something, Ryo Won said, turning from the window. Before this goes any further, my family will never stop trying to destroy you. They'll use every resource to discredit your career, spread rumors, make it impossible for you to work in Seoul. I know. And I don't have the power I once had. They've frozen my assets. I'm fighting them legally. But it could take years. I can't offer you stability. I'm not asking for stability. I'm asking for honesty. Do you still want this? More than anything. Even though it'll be complicated, even though people will judge, even though it might never be easy. I don't need easy. I need real. He crossed to her. You're the most real thing I've ever had. Then stop trying to sacrifice yourself. We both fought too hard to give up now. He stared at her, something breaking in his expression. What are we doing, Imani? We've known each other less than a week. Everything between us was built in crisis. Crisis reveals truth, Imani said. But we need to know if this survives outside of crisis. We need rules, boundaries. What rules? Therapy, both of us separately. We process our trauma before we build something together. She moved closer. Honesty, even when it's ugly. No performing for each other. And time, we don't rush this. We figure out who we are outside of crisis before we decide what we are to each other. So what does that mean for tonight? The question hung between them, charged with possibility. Imani looked at him, really looked, at the exhaustion in his face, the hope in his eyes, the careful control finally cracking. She'd spent 3 years building walls. Maybe it was time to let one person in. Tonight, she said slowly, you tell me something real, not a confession, not a crisis, just something true about who you are when no one's watching. Ryowan's expression softened. I'm terrified of being ordinary. I've spent my whole life being exceptional. Exceptional student, exceptional CEO, exceptional son. The thought of being just a person, it feels like disappearing. You could never be ordinary. How do you know? You've only seen me falling apart. I've seen you fight an entire system that wanted to break you. I've seen you risk everything for your own freedom. I've seen you post bail for someone whose career you could have used as leverage. She stepped closer. That's not ordinary. That's extraordinary. His hands found her waist, gentle and questioning. Your turn. Tell me something real. I'm terrified of wanting things. The words came out raw. After what happened 3 years ago, I convinced myself that not wanting meant not hurting. I built walls, focused on work, kept everyone at arm's length. And then you looked at me like you saw through every defense I'd built, and suddenly I wanted something so badly it scared me. What did you want? This. She gestured between them. Someone who sees me. Someone who makes me feel alive instead of just safe. Someone worth risking everything for. Ryowan's forehead dropped to rest against hers. We're both disasters. Completely. Want to be disasters together? I'm terrified of it. Me too. His breath ghosted across her lips. But I'm more terrified of walking away and spending the rest of my life wondering what we could have been. The space between them hummed with restraint and possibility. Imani's hand slid up his chest to his shoulders, feeling the tension there, the careful control. If we do this, she said quietly, we do it right, slowly, honestly. No more crisis, no more dramatic confessions. Just 2 people learning each other. I can do that. His hands tightened on her waist. But can I do one thing first? What? Kiss you, actually kiss you. Not as doctor and patient, not as rescuer and rescued, just as 2 people who choose each other. Her heart hammered. Yes. He kissed her carefully at first, soft, questioning, giving her space to pull away. Imani's hand slid into his hair, and she kissed him back with 3 weeks of restrained want. The careful kiss deepened, became urgent. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her close, and she pressed into the warmth and solidity of him. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ryowan's eyes were dark with hunger and something deeper. Worth the wait, he murmured. Definitely worth the wait. He kissed her again, slower this time, savoring. His hands mapped her back, her sides, learning the shape of her. Imani's fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer, desperate for more contact. "Wait," she gasped, pulling back. "Wait, we need to slow down." Right, slow, boundaries. But his hand stayed on her waist, his forehead pressed to hers. "Imani, you're making this very difficult." "Good. You made everything difficult for me since the moment you looked at me like you wanted to devour me." "I did want to devour you. I still do." His voice dropped to rough intimacy. "But I'll wait. I'll be patient. I'll court you properly and prove this isn't just physical. It's definitely physical. It's also everything else." He stepped back, putting careful distance between them. "So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take you home. Tomorrow we both find therapists. Next week we have a proper date. Dinner somewhere public and boring. We build this right. You're being remarkably mature about this. I'm being strategic. If I push too fast, you'll run. If I show you I can be patient, you might actually trust me." He smiled slightly. "I didn't build an empire by being impulsive. I can be patient when it matters, and you matter." Chapter 5. Building Something Real. 2 weeks later, Imani sat across from Ryo Wan in the world's most aggressively lit dumpling restaurant. Plastic chairs, laminated menus, fluorescent lights that made everything look slightly ill. "This is possibly the least romantic place in Seoul," he said. "That's the point. We're building ordinary." They talked about nothing important. The weather, bad television, his therapist's obsession with childhood trauma. Surface conversation, testing whether they could exist without crisis intensity. But his foot kept finding hers under the table, and her eyes kept catching on his hands, his mouth, the way he smiled when she made him laugh. "My therapist gave me homework," Ryo Wan said. "Identify moments when I chose image over authenticity." "How's that going?" "Exhausting. Turns out my entire life was performance." He leaned back. "Except with you. You're the only person I've never performed for." "You performed a little. That first session you were all defensive walls. For about 10 minutes. Then you admitted you'd been a patient and I knew you were different." His gaze intensified. "That's when I started falling." Heat flooded her face. "My therapist thinks I'm attracted to rescue, that I can't separate caring for someone from saving them. Are you? Is that what I am to you?" Honesty. They'd promised honesty. "Maybe at first," Imani admitted. "You were trapped in a situation I understood. Helping you felt like healing my own past. But then you became more than a symbol. You became someone I wanted to know. Someone who made me laugh. Someone I missed when 3 days felt like forever." "So not just rescue?" "Not anymore. Now I'm just terrified we're building on a foundation of trauma, that when life gets ordinary, we'll realize we don't actually fit." "I'll definitely disappoint you," Ryo Wan said. "I'm controlling, workaholic, emotionally constipated when I'm stressed. I'll try to fix your problems when you just need me to listen. And I'm guarded, hypercritical, terrified of vulnerability. I'll push you away when I'm scared. I'll analyze everything instead of experiencing it. So we're both disasters. Completely. Good." He reached across the table, his fingers finding hers. "I don't want perfect. I want real. And you're the most real thing I've ever had." The touch sent electricity up her arm. Such a small thing. Fingers intertwined across a cheap table, but it felt more intimate than anything they'd shared in the hospital. "My ethics hearing is in 2 weeks, Imani said. My lawyer says I shouldn't see you until after. Any relationship will be used as evidence against me." His jaw tightened. "So we pause again?" "We're careful. Texts are fine. Phone calls maybe, but no dates, no public appearances, nothing that looks like romance." "For how long?" however long it takes. Ryo Won, I need my license. Without it, I can't work in the clinic. I can't help people. I can't build a life that isn't defined by my past. I understand. But disappointment shadowed his face. How do I know you won't use the delay to talk yourself out of this? Valid fear. She'd done exactly that with every potential relationship for 3 years. You don't, Imani admitted. That's the trust part. You trust that I'll show up after the hearing, and I trust that you'll still want me when I'm not your advocate anymore. I want you now. I'll want you in 2 weeks. I'll want you in 2 years. His grip tightened. I've never been more certain of anything. Outside the restaurant, winter had sharpened. Ryo Won walked her to his car. Can I drive you home? He asked. That feels like a date. It's safety, Seoul at night. She agreed. In the car, silence hummed with everything they weren't doing. At her building, he parked but kept the engine running. 2 weeks, he said. Maybe less, maybe more. And then we figure out if this survives without crisis. Ryo Won reached across the console, his hand hovering near hers. Can I hold your hand? Just for a minute. Human connection, not romance. Imani threaded her fingers through his. His palm was warm, his grip gentle but firm. They sat in the idling car, holding hands like teenagers, and it felt more intimate than any kiss. I'm going to win you, Ryo Won said quietly. Not because you saved me, not because of crisis bonding, but because you're brave and brilliant and you make me want to be someone worth knowing. I'm going to show up, be patient, and prove this is real. That's a lot of pressure. It's a promise. He lifted her hand and pressed his lips to her knuckles, brief and tender. Go, before I forget how to be patient. Chapter 6. The Ethics Board. The ethics hearing was sterile and brutal. Long table, stern faces, questions designed to dismantle her credibility. Dr. Mwenyezi, isn't it true you developed romantic feelings for patient Kang during treatment? I developed empathy for a patient being abused by the system. That's not what I asked. Did you have romantic feelings? Her lawyer objected. Feelings aren't violations. Actions are. She met him secretly at midnight. She filed unauthorized reports. She contacted him after being removed from his case. These are actions of someone emotionally compromised. These are actions of a doctor who recognized abuse and reported it properly. Back and forth for 2 hours. Every decision dissected, every moment questioned. Finally, Dr. Mwenyezi, are you currently in a romantic relationship with Mr. Kang? This was it. Lie and protect her license. Tell the truth and accept consequences. No. We've had limited contact since his release. We're both in therapy processing what happened. We've discussed the possibility of a future relationship, but we're waiting until after these proceedings. So, you admit romantic interest in a former patient? I admit we developed mutual feelings during a crisis. We're handling those feelings responsibly, waiting, getting therapy, ensuring our choices aren't driven by trauma. Convenient narrative. It's the truth. More questions, more dissection. Finally, deliberation. An hour later, the verdict. Dr. Mwenyezi violated procedural boundaries. However, her clinical concerns were valid. She will receive a formal reprimand and complete ethics training. She may practice under supervision for 1 year. After that, full reinstatement. Relief flooded through her. Not perfect, but survivable. However, the board chair's voice hardened. We strongly advise reconsidering any relationship with Mr. Kang. While not illegal, it creates appearance of impropriety that could permanently damage professional reputation. Outside, Imani's phone showed a text. How did it go? Reprimand and supervision. I keep my license. That's amazing. Congratulations. They warned me against pursuing a relationship with you, said it would damage my reputation. 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Finally, then maybe we shouldn't. Her chest constricted. Is that what you want? I want you to have the career you've earned. I want you free, even if that means free of me. She called him immediately. Don't make decisions for me, she said. If I wanted out, I'd take it. Do you still want this? More than anything. Even though it'll be complicated, even though people will judge. I don't need easy. I need real. You're the most real thing I've ever had. Then stop trying to sacrifice yourself. Where are you? Home. Stay there. I'm coming to you. She hung up and called a car. 15 minutes later, she was at his door. He opened it, surprise and hope warring in his expression. You came. You thought. Wouldn't? I thought you'd choose your career. I'm choosing both. I'm choosing to build a life where I can have my career and you, where I don't have to sacrifice one for the other. She stepped inside. I'm tired of choosing safety over what I actually want. Ryo-won closed the door, his eyes dark and intense. What do you want? You. This. Whatever we're building. She moved closer. I want to stop being afraid. Stop protecting myself by keeping everyone distant. I want to try. Just try? I want to see where this goes. No promises, no guarantees. Just honest effort to build something real. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. I'll take it. They stood wrapped in each other, breathing together, grounding in each other's warmth. I missed you, Ryo-won murmured against her hair. 2 weeks felt like forever. I missed you too. He pulled back to look at her, his hands cupping her face. Can I kiss you? Properly this time? Yes. He kissed her like a man starving, deep, consuming, holding nothing back. Imani's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, desperate for more contact. His hands slid into her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes burned with barely restrained hunger. I want you, he said roughly. I've wanted you since the moment you walked into that hospital room. But I need to know you're sure that this isn't just relief from stress, that you actually want me, not just the idea of breaking free. I'm sure. She pulled him back down for another kiss, slower this time, savoring. I'm terrified and unsure about 1,000 things, but I'm sure about this, about you. Thank God. He lifted her, her legs wrapping around his waist, and carried her toward the bedroom. Because I've been patient for weeks, and I'm done being patient. He laid her on the bed, following her down, his body covering hers. The weight of him, the heat, the way he looked at her like she was everything. It was overwhelming and perfect. Tell me if I need to slow down, he murmured against her neck. Don't you dare slow down, he laughed, the sound rough and intimate, and kissed her again. His hands mapped her body, reverent, hungry, learning every curve. Imani's fingers found the buttons of his shirt, fumbling with urgency. Let me, he said, pulling back to strip his shirt off in one smooth motion. The sight of him, defined chest, lean muscle, the vulnerable hunger in his eyes, made her breath catch. Your turn, he said, his fingers finding the hem of her blouse. She sat up, letting him pull it over her head. His eyes darkened as he looked at her, his hands skimming her sides with devastating gentleness. You're beautiful, he said roughly. I've imagined this so many times, but the reality... He broke off, kissing her shoulder, her collarbone, the sensitive skin at her throat. You're perfect. I'm not. You are. He pushed her back onto the bed, settling between her thighs. Perfect and brilliant and brave. And mine, if you'll have me. Yes, the word came out breathless. Yes, I'll have you. They took their time learning each other. Slow kisses and urgent touches, whispered confessions and gasped names. When they finally came together, it felt like completion, like finding something she hadn't known she was missing. After, they lay tangled together, breathing hard, skin cooling in the quiet apartment. That was, Ryo Won started. Yeah, he laughed, pulling her closer. Articulate. You broke my brain. I'm allowed to be incoherent. His fingers traced patterns on her back. Stay tonight. Stay every night. Move in with me. That's moving very fast. We've already moved fast. We fell in love in a psychiatric hospital while breaking every rule we could find. Moving in together feels almost conservative by comparison. She propped herself up on his chest, looking at him. You love me? Desperately. Completely. Probably since that first session when you looked at me like I was human instead of broken. His hand cupped her face. I love you, Imani. I love your courage and your stubbornness and the way you fight for people who can't fight for themselves. I love that you're lying in my bed after destroying both our reputations because you believed I was worth saving. Tears pricked her eyes. I love you too, even though you're controlling and intense and you confessed your darkest desires to your psychiatrist, like a complete disaster. Especially because of that? Especially because of that. She kissed him softly. We're both disasters. Might as well be disasters together. Is that a yes to moving in? It's a yes to trying. We take it slow. We keep our own spaces for now, but we see where this goes. I'll take it. He pulled her down for another kiss. I'll take whatever you're willing to give. They fell asleep, tangled together, two broken people learning to build something whole. Chapter 7. 6 months later. Spring arrived in Seoul. Imani worked at Dr. Okafor's clinic, advocating for patients trapped in abusive systems. The work was hard but purposeful in ways hospital medicine never had been. Ryo Won had won partial control of his company back. He'd also started a foundation funding mental health advocacy and patients' rights. They'd become partners in the work, though careful to maintain professional boundaries in public. In private, they were learning each other's ordinary disasters, learning that Ryo Won couldn't function before coffee, that Imani needed silence in the mornings, that they both had nightmares sometimes, his about locked rooms, hers about violence, and that holding each other through the fear helped. Learning that love meant showing someone your disasters, not just your crises. They fought sometimes, about his tendency to overwork, about her tendency to withdraw when stressed. But they fought fair, with honesty, instead of defense. Do you still worry about trauma bonding? Her therapist asked one session. Less. We've had enough ordinary days that I can see the difference. This isn't adrenaline, it's choice. In late spring, Ryo Won's mother reached out, tentative, wanting to talk. I don't know if I'm ready, he admitted to Imani. They were in his apartment, their apartment now, her things mixed with his. You don't have to be ready. You don't owe her anything. She's my mother. She's the woman who had you committed to control you. I know. He pulled Imani into his arms. But holding on to anger hurts me more than her. Maybe it's time to try forgiveness. Not for her sake. For mine. He met with his mother multiple times, gradually finding fragile ground. She asked to meet you, Ryo Won said one evening. Absolutely not. I told her you'd say that. He smiled slightly. But she wants to apologize. You don't have to accept, but maybe hearing her out would give you closure. She wanted to refuse, but she saw the hope in his eyes. One meeting, public place, you present the entire time. They met at a tea house. His mother arrived looking older than Imani expected, elegance undermined by obvious anxiety. Dr. Mwenyezi, thank you for meeting me. Imani nodded, wary. I owe you an apology. I was frightened for my son. I saw him falling apart and responded by trying to control the situation. When you questioned our decisions, I felt attacked. I tried to destroy you. That was wrong. You tried to have me criminally charged for helping your son. I know. I was protecting him the only way I knew, by controlling. I didn't understand I was hurting him more. Her eyes filled. He almost had ECT because of me. And you risked everything to stop that. I should have thanked you. Instead, I tried to ruin you. Imani's anger remained, but something underneath shifted. Your son didn't need control. He needed someone to listen. I understand that now, too late, but I understand. She looked at Ryawan. You're happy, actually happy. I haven't seen that in years. Dr. Mwenyezi, your presence in his life gave me back my son. I'm grateful, and I'm sorry. It wasn't enough, but it was something. I appreciate your apology, Imani said carefully. I hope you'll support your son by trusting his choices instead of controlling them. I'm learning. It's hard, but I'm learning. Afterward, in the car, Ryawan took her hand. Thank you, he said quietly. I didn't do it for her. I know. You did it for me, and I love you for that. He'd said it before, but it still made her chest warm. I love you too. We should go somewhere, he said suddenly. Disappear for a while. See who we are when no one's watching. I have patience. Dr. Okafor will cover. I've already asked. He grinned. Will you? Imani thought about her carefully controlled life, her supervised practice, her proof of professionalism. Then she thought about Ryawan's hand in hers and the way his smile transformed his face. Yes. Epilogue. 1 year later. They went to Tanzania. Imani's family met them at the airport. Her mother, her sisters, chaos and warmth and acceptance. This is the one who helped you fight, her mother said in Swahili. He's the one I fought for, Imani corrected. Her mother hugged them both. Then he's family. 2 weeks in Dar es Salaam. Ryawan charmed everyone with terrible Swahili and genuine curiosity. He played with her nieces, helped her father, learned to cook under her mother's supervision. Your family is chaos, he told Imani one night on the beach. Is that a complaint? It's perfect. He pulled her close. My family meals were silent and controlled. Yours are loud and messy, and everyone talks over everyone. It's the best thing I've ever experienced. They talked about the future. Imani's supervised year was nearly complete. Ryawan's company battles were stabilizing. I want to build something with you, he said. The foundation, the clinic. What if we combined them? Created a treatment center that actually served patients instead of controlling them? That's ambitious. We're both good at impossible things. She pictured it, a place where people could receive care that honored their humanity, where the system served healing instead of management. It would take years, constant battles. So you're saying yes? I'm saying maybe. Ask me again tomorrow. I'll ask every day until you say yes. On their last night, her mother pulled her aside. This man sees you, really sees you. Not who you were or who you're trying to be, who you actually are. I know, Mama. Don't let fear keep you from him. You deserve love. You deserve to be seen and chosen and celebrated. Stop punishing yourself for surviving. The words cracked something open. Imani cried in her mother's arms, releasing 3 years of held grief and shame. Later, Ryo-won found her on the beach. Your mom gave me the protective parent speech, he said. She's terrifying. Good. Hey. He turned her face toward him. You've been crying. Happy crying. My mom told me I deserve love. You do. You deserve everything. He kissed her softly. I'm going to marry you someday. Her breath caught. That's presumptuous. It's honest. I'm going to marry you, and we're going to build something beautiful, and we're going to show everyone that love born in crisis can survive in peace. You're very confident. I'm very sure. He pulled her close. Ask me in a year, when your supervision's complete and we've had more ordinary days. Maybe. Definitely. She smiled against his chest. We'll see. But she already knew her answer. They returned to Seoul, built their clinic, fought their battles, had ordinary days and extraordinary ones. A year later, exactly as promised, Ryo-won asked her to marry him on the beach, where they'd first kissed outside of crisis. Imani said yes without hesitation. They married quietly, Dr. Chen and Dr. Okafor as witnesses, Imani's family on video, call, Ryo-won's mother in attendance, fragile peace becoming something stronger. I love you, Ryo-won said, as they danced at their tiny reception. Thank you for seeing me, for fighting for me, for building this life with me. Thank you for confessing your dark desires to your psychiatrist like a complete disaster, Imani said. Best decision either of us ever made. He laughed and kissed her, and they danced in their chosen family's warmth. Two broken people who'd found each other in the darkest place, who'd risked everything for something real, who'd learned that sometimes the most forbidden love becomes the most necessary healing. Their story started in an asylum, with locked doors and dangerous confessions. It ended in freedom, with chosen love and hard-won peace. Some desires are too dark to confess. Some loves are too forbidden to survive. Theirs survived everything, and that made all the difference. The end. Wow, what a journey from asylum patient to forbidden lovers. If you can't get enough of dangerous attractions and boundary-crossing romance, hit subscribe, because next week's story is even more intense. I'm talking Mafia Boss falls for the FBI agent investigating him. You won't want to miss it. Like this video if Ryo-won's confessions had you feeling some type of way. And I'll see you in the next one.